And good evening, everybody, and welcome to our global hangout. This is Joe Grushkin coming to you from the home office here in Connecticut, Westport, Connecticut. I want to thank you for being here and thank you for your dedication and commitment to bringing max exposure to the small businesses across the country. All right, we have some people watching, and I want to thank you all for being here as they log on. The number of people joining us. Our PAC team is here. We have currently Joey D'Alessio, hardest working man in show business, Doug Roati, our #1 rep worldwide, and the mobile Chuck Conti on the road, making things happen, driving down the highway, and he is the top team builder worldwide. I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you guys for all you do. A lot going on, a lot happening. It's been a wild and woolly day with a lot of activity and a lot of phone calls and a lot of people making commitments and deciding that, you know, why am I doing this other thing? I should be doing this, and that's music to my ears. So it's a matter of getting people engaged and moving forward. We're going to be talking more about that as we go through the evening. I want to give everybody a chance to log on and get connected. A lot of people, I see people logging on from all over. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. And let's see. There we go. Got more people joining us. And better late than never, Monet's, we call him. So.
Chuck actually driving, or is that just like one of those moving scenery things?
He's actually mobile on his hotspot.
It's pretty wild.
You hear the sucking sound?
It's a movie special effect, I think. It's a green screen thing. He's not really driving.
You hear the sucking sound? That sucking sound.
How's that?
Yeah, that's great, man.
Data being sucked out of his phone right now. Barry, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, great. We got you too. Why is it that he looks younger every time he gets on these calls? Why is that, Barry?
It's a special add-in lens I use.
I think actually you just have your 15-year-old son sitting for you.
What?
Hey, Chuck, we're going to mute you out there. You got a little bit of noise going on. I think it's your 15-year-old son who sits in for you. That's what I think's going on there.
That's what it is. My redhead son.
Yeah, there you go. The red-haired stepchild.
That's right.
There you go. All right. Well, we have the PAC team here. Unfortunately, Oleg had a family commitment this evening, so he is off doing some family stuff, and he told me that he would check in with this later on and or tomorrow. So we are all here tonight. We're going to be talking about my favorite topic, that is go out and sell. And let me see if I can mute Chuck out here. Hang on a second. Chuck, I'm muting you out there so we get a little less noise on the background. But we have some very talented people with us here tonight. Joey D'Alessio, currently the record holder for most accounts in a month. I believe the number is 15 now, Joey. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
There you go. Well, congratulations on that.
Thanks.
And
Not going to stay long.
You're going to break your own record?
Right.
There you go. Well, I know some other people who would like to do that.
That's great.
And Doug Roati, a consummate sales professional, currently the #1 rep worldwide. And Chuck Conti is the team builder extraordinaire. He's the one who is building a hell of a team. And Barry Monet is our affiliate founder, someone who brings a wealth of knowledge and insight and great ideas and counsel to the organization, as well as a team and sales and all kinds of stuff going on in behind his magic curtains. So I'm gonna reach out to these gentlemen and ask them for some ideas and thoughts and insights as we go through our conversation this evening. Again, we have people. I see people logging in from all over the country. I want to thank you all for being here. Judy, Ethan, I can't see other people's names. If you put your name into that little box right there, you put your name into that little box right there, not the box of paper behind me, but that little box on the screen right there, that will get me an insight into who's here, and then obviously you can start chatting beyond that. So I want to thank those of you who have joined us and put your name in. It's great to see. I think Julie just joined us. Thank you, Julie, for being here. And there's a bunch of other people out there. I just don't know who they are. So someone says, "Is the Hangout working?" Well, the Hangout is working. Yes. So the question is, are you working? Right. So is that, and that is the topic for this evening. The topic for this evening is just go out and sell. And I want to preface it by saying there's a lot of ways to sell our product. We recommend the most effective way to sell, and that is, hey, Dave, good evening. Thanks for being here. We have the most effective way is to go out, to start by doing an SMA on a business, do the social media analysis. Then the next day or that afternoon, go in and see the business owner, and if they're not there, leave that single sheet of with the SMA score on it, and let them know that you'd like to come back when the owner is in, and find out when the owner is in. Kind of have a conversation, pre-sell, if you will, get the gatekeeper to be your advocate, so that they think what we're doing is cool, and they want to tell the business owner about it. So treat them with respect and appreciation, and most importantly, share the excitement that we have about what we're doing with the gatekeeper. And then find out when the decision maker's there, and then go back and schedule an appointment. Do the client conversation. Close the sale. Offer them the first month free at the time of the presentation. And give them 3 days to think about it. I mean, it's a simple process when you break it down that way. That's the most effective way we found to sell this product. Now, are there other ways? Sure. There's telemarketing, there's email marketing, there's sending out mailers, there's advertising. There's all kinds of ways to do it, none of which are as effective as the process that we just described. So, when you talk about just go out and sell, hey, Chad, welcome to the call. Thanks for being here. And I want to welcome you as well. And I want to, when we talk about just go out and sell, the bottom line is that's what we do. You don't have anything else distracting you from our business. Yeah, maybe you got to get through the training, and maybe you got to get some paperwork or some research done on, the SMA done. But in all we do is go out and sell. So if you're a salesperson, you shouldn't be spending a whole lot of time doing, other things. Playing on social media, that's something you do at night or on the weekends, or when you have free time, or you and getting the SMAs done should be done during non-selling time, what I call sacred selling time, from 9:30 to 4:30 every day. That's sacred selling time. That's the time you should be out there working with people. See, if you're behind the windshield or behind a computer monitor, and then you're not being as productive as you would be if you were in front of a human being. So, guys, you've all had experience out in the field. You've tried things that worked. You've tried things that didn't work. What's your take on just go out and sell, and what thoughts can you share with us this fine evening? Yes, Joey, go first.
Okay.
Notice nobody even unmuted. They were just waiting.
They just expected at this point, which is good.
Yep.
A couple of things. I mean, this go out and sell, you mean it 2 ways literally. If you're calling on your local market, there's no question about it. Getting out and seeing people is going to really work. There's no question about it. It works. Everyone that's been successful has done exactly that. There's no cheating that. If you can see a big group and tee up the ball high and get business cards, that's a nice thing to be able to do, but you still have to go and see these people to make that happen. I'm doing a little bit of a variation. I'm not sure if anyone else is in the same position to do it that way, but the way that it works for me is similar, just a little twist. I may stand in front of a group, then I get business cards, then I go home and then I call them. They're all over the country. So I still have to call, I still have to present. So what I think, and I thought about this after you gave us the idea for the topics, were, you have to plan your work, no question about it. Then you have to work your plan, no question about it. The thing you have to write down is, what's my plan? And so what we write down is, we prospect. I also call that target. Who do I want to go after? I can use the tools SMA, but I can also, at least from my prior knowledge group, say, hey, these are guys I know, they have storefronts, they have this, they have that, I want to go after. Then you have to qualify the lead. For me, that's the first phone call if they're far away, saying, do you understand social media? Because if they don't try to sell it yet. Try to make them understand what it is, what they're missing, and then what we do. Then we have the close part, and the close is the most valuable lessons I've learned as part of Max Exposure, how to close the deal. Presenting and hoping they ask you if they can buy in a polite way, that would be a long wait. You actually have to, people want to be sold in a way, as much as they say they hate to be sold, they like to be led through the processes, what I firmly believe that now. And then the support piece is, hey, you ready to go? This is the next step. Don't fumble it when it's time to enter the order, and then make that error in front of the customer, and they say, oh, you know what? Come back when you know what you're doing, or something like that. I fumbled way back a little bit, and I nearly lost one because of it. But you actually bailed me out, Joe. I called you. I was in a restaurant, and you walked me through it. So I'm saying that you have to plan it, you have to do it, and you have to have a semblance of order to what you're doing, and then you can be successful. But make no mistake about it, whether it's your first sale or your 100th sale, you still have to do the same thing. And you know what? When you go in after 101 to 110, you got to go back to the beginning and do it again. This is not, there's no magic. You don't wave your hand at some point and everybody falls out of the sky. You still have to do the work no matter what.
Joe, you're absolutely right. You got to do the work no matter what. And, I think you said whether it's your first one or your 100th one, it really doesn't matter. The same thing has to be done at both levels. I was watching opening day of Major League Baseball yesterday, and they were talking about the ace pitcher that was on the mound and how he just signed a $225 million contract for the next, I think, what was it, 5-7 years or something like that. Biggest contract signed by a Major League player. And all the guy does is throw a baseball. He just throws a baseball. There's 9-year-old kids that throw a baseball. He just throws it a lot better than they do. And he's done it a lot more times than they have. And that's why he's paid a lot more money, because he does it over and over and over again the same way. By the way, he lost yesterday. But he does it the same way over and over and over again. Think about it. Does that get boring? Well, I'm sure it does, Tiger Woods puts 200 balls every night. Do you think it gets boring? Yeah, I'm sure it does. But it's the same way over and over and over again, and that's what makes a professional. That's, it's the creativity of how you deal with it, rather than having to change it up to deal with it. So that's one of the things that I look at and say, if you're going to do the work, do it the same way over and over and over again. People always, people who get to know me, and the Pat guys know this, is I tell the same jokes over and over again. And yeah, they're the same stupid jokes over and over again. And when you're brand new, you think it's funny as hell. But after a couple of years, you kind of just chuckle at it and say, okay, it's Joe being consistent. And it's Joe being consistent. I mean, I used to be at a company, and every time we'd take a break at the conference, we'd all, head off to the men's room. And whenever I'd walk in the men's room, I'd always say the same line. Everybody knew it was me, because it was the same line year after year after year. It's consistent. But you know what? In consistency comes comfort. In consistency comes a knowledge of what you're doing. And when you're doing it the same way over and over and over again, you always have that same ability to work within that. Whether it's a joke, you tell it the same way all the time, or it's putting a golf ball, or it's doing a sales presentation. The more you do it, the more consistent you become, the better you become at it. So, Joey, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to share a thought on this idea of just go out and sell?
Well, I'll piggyback on that for a second because it sort of speaks to the notion of consistency. And I've said this probably more than a few times, and I apologize if it's becoming old, but excellence doesn't happen by accident. If you're going to be excellent at anything, it requires time spent, it requires rehearsal, it requires practice, it requires repetition over and over and over again. And Tony Robbins once said, repetition is the mother of skill. It's very true. Whether you're playing tennis, hitting golf balls, pitching balls, doing some present, yeah, any of those things. I mean, you don't become good, let alone excellent at anything, without committing a certain amount of time to practice and repetition and over and over and over again. And the cool thing about it is, especially when it comes to the sales presentation, if you do it enough, if you become really good at it, you kind of internalize the dialogue, you can mix and mash and change and reorder and everything else and still always get back to where you want to be in the conversation. And I was reminded of that today. I had my guy Terry down in Brooklyn had spoken to a woman, a business owner up near Cape Cod, and he did the initial SMA terrible score. But he kind of got her interested, but didn't really quite know where to go with the conversation. So he reached out to me last week and asked me if I would call in because she was interested. So I got on the phone with her this morning, and we talked for about an hour on the phone. And I went through basically the equivalent of a client conversation without ever having met the woman. Just did a little bit of initial warm-up, edified Terry and talked to her. And she was very cool, very nice, and she got it, and she more than once said, I've never talked to anybody who's been able to explain things so well and help me to understand it. She says, this really, really makes sense. And near the end of it, she said, I have to tell you, she says, you could talk a dog off a meat wagon. I said, I'm assuming that's a compliment. She goes, oh no, this is the way I am. She says, you make it sound so understandable and everything else. She said, I don't have any other questions, and I certainly, and she's going to do it. I don't have any reservations at all. But I don't say that to make, wow, I'm great, I'm brilliant, or otherwise. It just comes from having done it time and time and time and time again, and you can just have it be a very loose, casual conversation, but always work your way back to where you want to be. Because you've done it so many times. So it becomes effortless after a fashion.
You're absolutely right, Doug. And when I was a district sales manager in Cutco, we used to interview people, and we would do in the summertime 2-3 interviews a day. And when we said an interview, it wasn't just one-on-one; it was a group. And that group interview might have been 5 or 7 people. But it could be as many as 25 or 30 people at a time, where you're explaining the business opportunity to this group of people. And it was a process that we put them through. And it got to the point where you said the same things over and over again the exact same way so many times. You literally have this, the only way to describe it is an out-of-body experience, where you're talking, you're smiling, you're animated, you're doing all these things, but at the same time, you're having this vision of everyone in the room to make sure that they're connected, that they're picking it up, that they're not wandering off, their minds aren't wandering off, so that you're staying connected with this large group of people. And it's kind of like the way a rock and roller who does their show, they do it over and over again the same way. They can improvise. Joey?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm going to get him in on our top.
And thank you. And Joey, we muted you out. And the rock and roller can do the show the same way over and over again, and then they can improvise in between or during one of the songs or in their a guitar solo or drum solo, and they could do things, maybe stand up or twirl the sticks or jump off a speaker and still be playing, because they've done it so many times they know exactly where they are. And that out-of-body experience becomes part of the sales process. When you're talking to somebody, you're able to listen better. Even though you're talking, you can read them. You can ask a question and not worry about what you're going to say next. You're able to listen to their answer because you know what you're going to say next. And it's all part of that practice and that rehearsal and that comfort with what you're doing. And it comes from doing it over and over and over and over again. So you're absolutely right, Doug. It's a matter of practice and rehearsal. And being an accomplished guitarist, well, I'm gonna give you more
I think you have me confused with somebody else there. I don't feel bad, but I get the
credit that you give yourself. But the point is that it comes from practice. Hey, I played the guitar when I was a kid. I never practiced, so I didn't play the guitar, and I wasn't very good at it because I didn't practice at it. So I understand what it takes in retrospect. And when you look at your sales profession, are you going to look back in retrospect and say, boy, if I only did it a little bit more, if I only practiced a little bit more, I'd have financial freedom now? Or are you going to look back and say, I'm glad I did it a lot. I stumbled over the words and I just got them out there until I got it right. By the way, I didn't start running interviews for 30, 40 people at a time. I started out with 1 or 2, and I built up over time to be able to handle big groups. And that comes with practice. That comes with accomplishment. Chuck, Barry, what's your take on this? Just go out and sell.
Chuck Berry, he's anyway, yeah. I would say another analogy too is coming down here made me think of it just now. When you're driving a car, and when you first learn to drive a car, and 10 and 2, and oh my God, trying to parallel park, and I bumped into the curb first time I took a test. Just now I'm driving down, I got the iPad, and I'm working the Wi-Fi, and I'm still driving down a major highway. I probably shouldn't. It's not a smart idea, but I'm comfortable enough knowing how to drive a car now because I've done it So I mean, it really you couldn't learn that from reading a book. You do have to read and learn, but doing it is where you're going to get that practice and that repetition and learning how to do it, because every situation is going to be a little different. Like you said, you might get thrown off at a different tangent and you want to come back to where you were. And I can say one thing I learned from Doug, and I've heard other people say it. I've studied Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, all the big guys, all the sales techniques, and I understand the asking the questions. But to see Doug do it pertaining to social media, and he's a good example of the video that we have in the back office of the client conversation that he had done, and the fact that he doesn't go on to the next topic until he has questioned them and make sure they understand what it is he just told them, and doing those little closes along the way to get those yeses, because if they don't understand what he just said, there's no sense in going on to the next. So seeing Doug do that in terms of our client conversation, it's been very helpful to me to make sure I am using those techniques, to make sure I am doing those little closes along the way.
Very good, Chuck, and you're absolutely right. You can't learn to drive a car by reading a book. You have to do it. They have both a written test and a road test. I have 2 cousins through marriage, both of which are Sandler franchisees, Sandler Selling System franchisees. And David Sandler wrote a book called You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar, which means you can't, it's 7-step system for successful selling. And in other words, you can't teach somebody to sell at a seminar. Where you learn to sell, if I can sum up the 200 pages of this book, I don't know how many pages there are, but 200 and change pages of this book, the bottom line is you learn to sell by selling. It's OTJ, on the job training. And by doing it, you learn it. So when I say just go out and sell, that's where the training is. You can go out and sit in your room. You can pile papers up all around you. You can role play it. You can read it into the video. You can practice it with your mom, whatever you want to do. But where you're going to learn, where you're going to grow, where you're going to evolve is by being face-to-face with somebody and failing. The no sale is where you learn more than when they say, yep, sign me up. Because when you don't make the sale, that's when you call me or Chuck or Doug or whoever you're connected to and say, this is what happened. Then they'll say, let me ask you something. You said they want to think about it? And you say, yeah, they said they want to think about it. Did you do the upfront contract? Nah, I wasn't comfortable with that. Well, why do you think they want to think about it? You go, oh, yeah, that's it. I got to do that next time. I was talking to someone who said they were always uncomfortable with saying to somebody, today, here's the deal today. First, because I'm here today, I can give you your first month free. If I have to come back, I can't do that. But I will give you 3 days to think about it. So if you sign up today, I'll give you 3 days to think about it. After that, I can't give you the discount. They were uncomfortable with saying that. And they weren't successful. Then they went off and got another job, and they hated the other job. Hated it. But they taught them how to say at the other job, if I have to come back, the price isn't going to be available. And all of a sudden, they said, wow, this works. And they hated the other job, so they're coming back to us, and, why am I doing all this stupidity when I could be doing it for myself? I hear that all the time from people that, they wander off to another thing, and they start scratching and say, wait a minute, I'm really going to do all of this work, and in 10 years, I have no residual? And they think, my God, what am I doing? And they wake up to sticking around where the residual income is. So, the key is to stay focused and to be consistent in what you're doing. And by being focused and consistent, you're going to have the results that you want. So thanks, Chuck. I appreciate that. That's good insight. Barry, what's your takeaway, buddy?
Just a few quick points. Obviously, we all agree that when you find something that works, being consistent, being repetitive in terms of saying it over and over, will usually work very well for you. But you got to believe it in the first place, and you've got to have something of value to sell. Excuse me. So point being is that it's not that you can just get out and do consistent effort with something that's of no value. There's got to be something there that the client will find or the potential buyer will find of value. And you've also got to have confidence in what you're selling, that what you're presenting to them is real, is of value. And that'll come through, your consistency and being able to just, as you kind of say, go into a zone and just be able to make a sale because you're so good at it, you've learned it, you're comfortable with it and confident with it, doesn't work with the wrong product, no matter what. I mean, people are just going to see right through it. So I think that's where it really starts. And if you really look at what we have here, we've got the right product and people need it. It's a matter of getting them to see it the way we see it, seeing the world the way we see it, as I think Doug said at this moment.
It's important. You're absolutely right, Barry. But it's also not only the right product, but it's the right time for the right product. And we thought 2 years ago the timing was good. It keeps getting better because more and more people are realizing they need this service. I'm getting nervous. Because we're at the fuse has been lit and the powder keg is getting closer to the fuse, to the flame, and there's something brewing. I feel it brewing, that it's coming, and it's going to be big. I want it to be for us, though. I want it to be for the people on this call. I want it to be for the people who are engaged today, not the people who come. They'll have theirs down the road, but for the people who come in who are here now, now is the time to be looking at every viable option. I mean, not only are you do you have the opportunity to go out and knock on doors and do one-off activity, but are you talking to your local chamber of commerce? Are you working through your chamber of commerce? Are you looking to get them to partner with you in some way, either as a reseller or a white label, a reseller relationship somehow? Are you talking to the different associations that are in your community? Are you connecting with people who are also connected in your community to local businesses? Are you talking to web designers and graphic artists and people who sell to businesses, who sell to business, to business owners? So, are you out there strategically marketing your product, or are you just, thinking about what you're going to be doing? And, we have so many avenues we could go. White label, reseller, direct sales. You could get on the phone and follow up. You can telemarket your way into businesses and then follow up. You know, there's all kinds of ways through the Chamber of Commerce, through associations. You get into the chamber and start working your way through a chamber and go to all the networking functions and get the directory and start calling those customers and scheduling appointments, especially the ones that don't have brick and mortar. The ones who work out of their homes, they need a phone call and you meet them on the street. Hey, you know what I do? I keep my phone on camera when I'm in the car, and I just sit there and I take pictures of vans and trucks and signs of companies that I never knew existed. When I'm at a traffic light, and I think every one of these guys has gotten a lead for me at one point, or I'll take a picture of it when I'm in their neighborhood. I don't think Joey has, because I've never been to Lidditz, but I'll take a picture. So I have sent you pictures of lock companies that I've taken, that I've seen on the road. But I'll see a company, and I'll say, here's a lead for you. I was down in Florida, and I was sitting at a traffic light, and there was some truck in front of me with a logo and cartoon pictures of the owners or whatever it was. And I know Mary, Sunshine Mary, was in the area of that place. I just snapped a picture and text messaged it to her and said, here's a lead for you. You know, because every single business is a viable lead. All you got to do is be aggressive about it. I must get 20 emails a week for people who want to do my SEO. I must get 10 phone calls a week from people who want to either lend me money or give me a credit card, silly people, or, you know, they don't know what I'll do to their credit card, or, you know, people who want to, you know, update my phone systems, or a payroll service, or credit card processing. There's tons of businesses that, because I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, I'm on their list, and their salespeople call me. And some I talk to because I try to recruit them, and some I don't even bother with because they're just lousy salespeople. But the bottom line is, they're calling, they're prospecting, they're looking for business in whatever way it takes, and they're just out there selling. And are you? That's the question. Are you out there selling? Because just go out and sell means just go out and sell. Don't worry about social media. Don't worry about the customer. We'll take care of them. You might need to get involved at some point. Might need to go back in and do an analysis with them. By the way, check it out. MaxExpoStats.com. MaxExpoStats.com. Somebody says to you, well, do you have analytics? Yeah, we do. Check it out. MaxExpoStats.com, and they'll see what the analytics look like right on the screen. Because that's the Max Exposure Facebook page, and all the stats are there. So we have all the tools for you. We've done all the heavy lifting. We've created the websites. We've created all the programs and processes, and we have the team behind you. All of that is there. All you have to do is go out and sell. I want to also make another statement, and get some commentary from you guys on this. I did an analysis based on our sales and our expenses. And if everything went perfectly, we would have a profit of 0.01% right now. That's not a lot. 0.01% is not a lot. When you take into consideration the commissions we pay, and I did it based on based on how much we paid out in real dollars, and then how much we pay our back office team and our staff, and the taxes we pay, and the cost of the technology that we have, and then there's things like association fees and subscriptions and things like that, and then also we had a meeting last month, and everybody ate. And everybody came to this meeting. There was a cost engaged with the meeting. So all of those costs go into the overall operations, And when you take them out against the revenue that came in, we had just under 0.01%. So now what happens is, as a business grows, that percentage can grow because a lot of the fixed costs will stay fixed, and the percentage of expense to revenue will come down. And that's the point we're at now. We're right at that tipping point. You know, the water is right there, and we're just above the water. But the whole idea is to get way above the water. So the water line is down here, and you have all that room to move. And that's the point that you all need to contribute to. You didn't invest in the websites. You didn't pay for them. You didn't pay for the development of the programs. Doug mentioned it today that in his message in the wake-up call that company was on the 94th iteration of the sales presentation, and the 95th was coming soon. We've probably had 15 or 20 iterations of our sales presentation. Doug will validate this, but in the beginning, back when we used to carry around stone tablets, Doug, remember? The stone tablets we would carry.
They were a bitch, man. They were heavy, and of course they got.
And they had typos. When we chipped it in, there were typos in the text that we chipped into it. I mean, all we had in the beginning was a trifold brochure with no less than a dozen typos. Doug used to kill me on the typos, but there was a trifold brochure with no less than a dozen typos and a 26-page presentation book. That was on paper. It wasn't even on glossy paper. It was on regular photocopy paper. And we made sales. A lot of them. Right, Doug?
Yep.
There were a lot of sales being made because we were out there selling. Doug was making sales. I was making sales. Mary was there right from the beginning. Chuck was there from the beginning. Barry came in. He started making sales. Joey came in. He started making sales with a book that was crap compared. We had a website that looked like a third grader with ADD built it. Me, right? And we sold a lot of accounts. Now we've got all this high-tech, grandiose, phenomenal tools, and we own the name Social Media Analysis, registered trademark. We own that. So if anybody ever sees anybody using it, call me, because I can't wait to send out my first cease and desist letter. But we own the name Social Media Analysis, and we have a patent pending on the SMA process. And we're going to continue the efforts to get that full patent, the non-provisional patent versus the provisional patent, which is what we have. So we have all the tools in place. All you got to do at this point is, all together now, guys, unmute yourselves. Unmute. All they have to do now is
sell.
Go sell.
I mean, that's all it is. So, guys, your thoughts on all this, where we were, where we've been, and what needs to be done now.
I'll start out here because actually I was thinking of mentioning that because we're talking about just doing it over and over, and you have to learn how to do it right. But we have gone through the transition. We have seen how to make it better. There was that. Then there was the fact when we came out with the new website, thought the website was so great that maybe we could just send people there and they would just sign up, and we realized that didn't work so well. We had to get back and start talking to people again. But I think that's great news that we you can now say the company's profitable. I mean, and obviously the more accounts we bring in, the more profitable it'll be. And
Chuck, if I can interrupt you, Chuck, yeah. and the use of that profit is not just to make me rich. No, the use of that profit is to reinvest back into the company.
I was going to say I could testify to that. That you know the reason it's taken us this long to get profitable is because you know we've upgraded the software, we've upgraded the website. Everything keeps getting upgraded and reinvested. You've spent all the money to develop the SMA, and all those are expenses that have gone past now. And again, the company will become more profitable. And I have no doubt that you're going to continue to give us better tools and or more tools and work on the process also. So. Like I said, I mean that we've recovered or back to where we, where you can say that it's profitable, even if it's only 0.1%. It's great to hear that. It's also, it's also great to know that the more sales we make now, the better it gets, the more money's going to be reinvested. I mean, I was at that meeting and we talked about what's coming, and I won't get into that. I won't even give any hints. I'm sure you could give some hints if you want, but that's going to be discussed and gone over at the May 16th meeting in Stanford.
Yeah.
So, anybody that can get there should definitely be there. You've also said there's not going to be any expense when you show up there for the people that are there. So, I mean, that's great. We're doing, we're not doing the big conference this year, but I think that goes to the fact that we're not a big rah-rah company. We're more about getting out there and selling and getting the job done and getting money in everybody's pocket. So.
Good point, Chuck. Thank you. Anybody else want to share their thoughts?
A couple. This week, as much as I've been trying to sell and filling up my funnel, and I know I'm going to have an excellent end to the week, I talked to some people that weren't necessarily targets to sell the product to, but I'm planting these seeds, and I talked to 3, and I'll go quick on the 3. One, this guy's a local big shot, big builder. He's built some beautiful properties. I've met him through kids playing soccer and stuff. Happened to bump into him at the soccer field. The kids are on the elite team and all the cool stuff. So he starts talking to me. He says, "What are you doing these days?" And so I told him, "Nothing, just social media management, what we're doing." And he got so excited, he said to me, "I have friends that I know that have businesses that could use this." He says, "Do you need an investor?" He says, "I'm so impressed with what you're doing." He goes, "This has got to be big. Is it public yet?" And I said, "No, let me know." So that was interesting because it wasn't that he was a target.
Give him my number, right?
Okay, it wasn't that he was a target for me to sell that to, but I wanted to plant the seed because I know who he is. And the reason I'm saying that is if you can't get to a chamber meeting, it's really a different way to look at it. As long as you know who knows, that's good enough. And in this case there, I knew he knew.
Joey, you should get that guy as a partner and build Lidditz on,
Well, we are definitely getting together. You read my mind, of course. So I use that as a great thing to follow up with. That's one. 2, I heard from this guy today, absolutely out of the dense jungles of, nowhere, a former CEO that I work with. The guy's worth $100 million himself. He went into investment, roll-ups, all kinds of stuff. He called me out of the clear blue because he was going through a Rolodex. I guess he was finally going all computer. And he said, "I had to talk to you. What are you doing?" So I told him. And he was really, really, really excited. He goes, "I don't think that industry can be rolled up yet." He says, "But it sounds like you're at the head of the curve. It sounds really exciting." He got animated. He talked to me more today about max exposure than he ever did the 10 years I worked for him. So that was interesting. He got on fire with the idea. And he said, "You better send me some information." Of course, I know plenty of people. And then finally, I had a marketing lady call, and it was a proposal I gave a guy more than 3 years ago for a website. He wanted to know if my proposal was still good. I was actually dying laughing. But she called because she has it. She said there's some cool stuff in it. And so she's a marketing firm. And so we got past all of the web crap, and I started asking her, I said, "What do you do?" And I'm looking at her website, and she doesn't do much for social media. So when I got done talking to her, she gave me her personal email, not the company she works at email, and she said, "Do you have an associate program? Because I have customers, I think, right now that could use it." So my point of saying this is you feel something brewing, I do, because there's hardly anyone that doesn't feel the need. And there's people now getting interested at a different level. So the thing to do is to turn that energy into positive things. But unless you're talking to people a lot, you're not going to get any of this either. So you really got to be doing it. Selling takes many forms. It's not just, it all leads to ringing up the tape, but it needs to all be done.
Joey, and the reason those 3 things happen is because you're out there just going out and selling. Whether it's by phone or by email or whatever, you're eating, drinking, sleeping, and breathing the business right now, and that's why all of them are coming to you. I mean, you're in your max exposure shirt in your home, and you're out and about, and all of that is just coming to you because it just happens when you do that, I mean, I was on vacation and making calls and driving here and there, and it just things evolve. They materialize, they manifest. I don't care what you want to call it. Just amazing when you're in flow what happens, and that's exciting. So hey, an investor to build the Lidditz market, that could be very, very interesting. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Guys, anything else? Thank you, Joey. Anything else, guys? Anybody want to share anything?
Yeah, I'll bring up a quick point, and Joey hit on something that we've hit on many times, and that is you just got to get out there and do it, make it happen, talk to people. That's it. The more you talk to people, business is a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more no's you're going to get, the more yeses you're going to get. So when we say get out there and sell, it just means get out there and talk to people. And in doing that, you will make the sales.
Barry, you're absolutely right. When you're out there talking to people, sales come to you. And when I say just go out and sell, I'm not saying go out and just pound the doors and be a dog-faced worker. I'm saying be the face of the business. Be energized about the fact that we're doing something that nobody else is doing. And I promise you this, folks, I can tell you in no uncertain terms, on May 16th, when we roll out what we're going to be offering our customers, nobody on the face of the planet will offer what we're offering to an individual customer at the price that we're offering it. Period. There is nobody on the face of the planet. We are going to springboard light years ahead of all of our competition when you see what we're adding to our program and what we're going to be offering. It is going to absolutely blow you away. Period. So, be in Stanford on May 16th because you'll be the first to have access to it, and most importantly, you want to know how this works because it really will make a big difference in how you engage with your customers. But Barry, you're right. When you're out there, excuse my French, but shit just happens, doesn't it? It's really the way to look at it. Anybody else want to share? Chuck? Doug? Doug, you're muted.
I was deferring to Chuck because I thought he was getting ready to open his mouth, so I was just holding back.
Actually, I was saying go ahead, Doug. I didn't realize I was muted. So
there you go. Well, that's what happens when you're on mute. It's like lip reading kicks in. Excuse me. There is, I can't necessarily disagree. Well, I can't disagree with him. I'm not sure I can add much to what's being said about this thing. It's not. You don't gain anything by being. I actually use this line very often in talking to prospects when I'm having the conversation. There's no advantage in being the best kept secret in town. They used to be used as sort of a compliment. Oh, these guys are the best kept secret. And it's like I say this. I said, do you really want to be the best kept secret? And they're like, well, no. I said, why would you? Don't you want everybody to know about your business? And they say, yes. Well, it's the same thing here. You gain nothing by not talking about it, by not having it be, again, to your point, if it doesn't necessarily mean you've got to be out knocking on doors and laying the pitch on people, but by being secretive or not being vocal about what it is that's being offered here and the benefits and all the rest of that, there's no upside to that. So whether it's just being out and being friendly when you're out and about and striking up conversations with strangers and businesses, or when you're getting gas in your car, it doesn't really matter. Don't be a wallflower. I mean, we're in sales, for Christ's sake, and if you're gonna have this sort of like laid back, unassuming approach to just dealing with people, you're probably in the wrong gig. It's not that you got to be the overpowering, overbearing person either, but don't hesitate and/or be afraid to engage people. It's just this is who we are. This is we're social creatures, and we're selling social media. So take a lesson from the service and the product, and talk to people and ask them questions and find out, hey, what do you do? What's your business? How long? And just start the conversation. That's where it all goes. And you can define that as selling. I just think of it being as more as engaging. That's all. You just interact with people and you start finding opportunities crop up. They're there. That's it.
A few years ago, I have a business coach who I invited onto the call, and he said, selling isn't something you sell. It's something that you share. And if you're excited about something and you share it with people, that's all you need to do. They'll catch your enthusiasm. They'll catch your vibe off of how excited you are about it. And if you're really excited, if you see the benefits to them first, rather than the commission to you first, the gold is in your hands. It's a done deal at that point. So keep in mind that you got to have that benefit them first mindset. But once you do, you're helping yourself and your family for a very long period of time. And that's the beauty in what we're offering. I keep coming back to people saying to me, why am I working for somebody else? Why am I distracted by other things? And why am I, knocking myself out with this 9 to 5 to make, $100 when I could be making so much more for such a longer period of time? You make one sale in a day, it nets you over $700 a year. One sale a day gets you $700 spread out over the rest of the year. If you do that every day, think about the math that you're going to have. Think about the income based on the math. One sale a day earns you $100,000 income. And then it's consistent from there. One sale a day gets you $240,000, $250,000 in income your second year. Yeah, you might have to pay a little tax on that. But you know what? That's okay. And I had a buddy of mine say to me that he did really well in the stock market, and it pisses him off that he's got to sell some stock to pay the tax on it. I said, but at least you got the additional shares to sell off. And when you do, the rest of it's yours. He goes, yeah, I know. So it's like I don't want to take my winnings off the table, But you have these winnings through commissions, and ask Doug or Joey, how big their bonus check was this month. Look at the smiles. Doug's trying to curtail it, but they were big checks. Barry got a nice big check this month for hitting bonus too. So, there's a lot going on out there. And the volume is there for anyone who wants it. All you have to do is one of two things. Get 2 sales in a month, or your first level team getting 10 sales in a month. And you hit bonus. Chuck has hit it many times. Everybody on this panel has hit it many times. And you know what? It's always sweet when you do it. Just 2 sales gets you bonus. If you hit it early in the month, then you get to 10 and you get a 5% kicker on your entire residual book of business. That's sweet when that happens. Because that 5% are on a big number, that becomes even more that you never anticipated having. So by doing 1 a day, you're banging out 25% of everything, month after month, year after year. So there's some big money in this, folks. Do the math. I was talking to Chad yesterday, and he says the money is ridiculous. He was doing the math. He said the money is absolutely ridiculous. And I agree. The money is ridiculous. It's there. All you got to do is grab it up through your actions and your activity. Guys, we're going to wrap up. We're in the home stretch here. Comments and questions before we close? Good.
No, it's hot. Just do it.
Just go out and sell. Chuck?
Yeah, just go out and sell. No, it's funny because I talk to a lot of new people looking at the opportunity all the time. And I've heard it mentioned that, well, it's only 25%, it's only $125 next week, blah, blah. And you have to look at the bigger picture that it is over $700 in that first year. And you're signing people, a lot of people are signing up for 2 years now to save the extra $25 a month. So that residual is guaranteed for 2 years to you. So it just keeps building up and building up. And if the $240,000 isn't enough by selling one a day, your second year, $240,000 is enough for you in that second year, then I suggest building a team. And including into that profit the overrides on commissions that you get from your team. And we know I think the video is still available where Joe talks about the team and how to build and how to create a 7-figure income. So anybody that tells me that I've heard I got 50% from this deal or 75% from that deal, but you got it one time and you never saw another dime from that. So next week, if you didn't go out and sell it again, you didn't see another penny. So you have to do the math. You have to realize and you have to set that goal down the road how much you're going to be making. Because then when you are making $100,000 and you get sick one week, where we talked about, where it's happened to a couple people, where you couldn't go to work that week, and you still get that paycheck that week, that makes all the difference. I mean, I came in, I'm sorry, just want to add to that. I found this company by doing, I know a lot of the people, the PAC team, whatever, was personal recruits from Joe. I came in through a Craigslist ad. And I had actually done a search on that Craigslist ad for residual income because I already knew the power of residual and the fact that I had a business that went through, it failed because the housing market crashed and the fact that I didn't have the big 401k, didn't have the pension plan, and, at my age, I needed something that is more consistent, and residual income is that.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Chuck. And that's the thing that got me fired up. I've had residual income in the past, and it paid me very, very well. But when I sold the business, the residual income went away. The nice thing about this business is, first of all, it's not going to be sold anytime soon, and I'm setting it up so that the second generation, the next generation, Allie and Alex, are going to be here to run the business, and we're teaching them the right philosophies. And they have a long run in front of them, and I'm sure they're going to, turn it over to somebody who's going to run it with the same philosophy so that the income continues for everybody who built the business. We're creating a home for salespeople here, someplace that you don't want to leave, someplace that you just want to stay at and keep building and, developing and engaging and becoming better at. And in time, when that 0.01% profit becomes, 8% or 10%, we're going to be able to say, hey, we're going to take our top 20 reps on a cruise, or our top 200 reps on a cruise, or to, Rome, or to, some exotic island someplace.
For a ride on my boat.
And they could go on Chuck's boat. And and the things that we can do is by reinvesting back into the people who built the business. We're going to take people away and let them have a great time because we're all able to. But that takes time. I was talking to a guy in the airport. I might have mentioned this a couple days ago. I was talking to a guy who bought a business in 1974, and it was a little camper dealership. And now he's the third largest RV dealer, manufacturer and dealer in the country, and out of a $12 billion market, they command $4 billion. Okay, and this guy was just sitting there talking to me in the airport, and he was an older guy, still works all the time, but loves it, and must be worth a fortune, an absolute fortune. Because he's the chairman and owner of a $4 billion company. And it didn't happen overnight. It took 74 to 2015 is what, 40 years? But it's worth it. I can tell you right now it's worth it. And who knows, we could be a $100 million company in 5 years. If everyone on this call right now, got excited and started selling one a day and consistently did that, I can tell you right now, we would catch fire and be $100 million company within 5 years. So there's a lot to happen between now and that. Everyone has to be involved and everybody has to take action. So the bottom line, folks, is just go out and sell. That's what I started the Monday morning call off with, the week off with. I said, just go out and sell. We have all the tools, all the technology, all the support, all the benefits, all the incentives, all the things you need to know. Just go out and sell. And everything you want will be yours. So I'm going to wrap it up. Joey, thank you for all your input, buddy. I appreciate that. Doug, thank you for all your contributions, as always. Chuck, glad you made it here. Thank you, and drive safely. And Barry, always thank you for all your contributions and input. And on behalf of the entire PAC team, I want to say go out and get what's yours, folks. There's a lot to be got. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., love to hear your feedback from everybody who was on this call. And anybody watching in recorded land, please share your thoughts tomorrow morning. I'd love to hear what you have to say on the 9 a.m. wake-up call. And tomorrow, Alex will be out here on the conference line for the noon workshop, sharing some more product knowledge information with you. So, on behalf of the PAC team, this is Joe Grushkin, Westport, Connecticut, saying this video hangout is now a wrap. Have a great day. We'll talk to you all tomorrow morning.